Bubba, I hate to drop this on you, but you got the same email I did, and they're starting to come in. April the 8th, we have another eclipse. We've had 2 in 7 years. 7 is a big biblical number. And here come the end of timers.
Okay, 2 eclipses in 7 years. Okay.
You're right.
Now this is what I heard. Now I'm going to give you. I was just looking in the break.
You know what you're about to do.
At 2 reports. Okay. Of course, with the eclipse coming, the second time in 7 years, a lot of interest is in that. Mm-hmm. That will be next Monday, by the way. Mm-hmm. There are reports out there that the eclipse in 2017, which we went to see, by the way, in Nashville. Adler was with me. Yep. You remember that? Yeah.
And Adler's going to total darkness on this one too, aren't you?
I am, yes.
You're taking Ruby?
First father-daughter solo plane travel. So, yeah, I'm taking Ruby to Austin, taking a 3-year-old on a plane by myself.
Nice.
According to and I want to get back to that.
You better hope the rapture comes.
Yeah. According to Fox 2, they say that there's several online reports that say the path of the 2017 eclipse crossed we're talking about the totality, where it really, shows out, went across 7 cities named Salem, supposedly echoing God's proclamation of peace 7 times. Coming up next Monday, this eclipse will go across North America. This time it will cross 7 cities named Nineveh.
Uh-oh.
Allegedly, these 2 paths will converge over a city named Rapture. Mm-hmm. Now, people have gone and run wild.
Bubba.
Right.
Uh-oh.
I don't know how your email has been.
Rapture.
I attempted to listen to some video one guy sent me, and it was a very kind guy. And but it was the guy was rolling off this stuff, but just so much of it. I tried to listen to it. Greg coming to meet you on Saturday to go to Ron Greenwood's mother's visitation, and it was just so much.
You just couldn't handle it. Too much for the brain.
He just hit me with so much information.
But those are the basics that I've heard.
What you hit is the basic.
Now
right.
this story says,
and it forms an X over America, like you said, because they said this.
Where they cross is
2017.
It came from the southwest to the northeast. This was going northwest, southeast.
Yeah. I told y'all Elon Musk was in the final place.
You did.
So you can see where this stirred everybody up. This story says that there were only 2 towns named Nineveh which experienced a total eclipse. The other 6 were partial, and according to this story, which that makes 8. That doesn't add up. Mm-hmm. Now, they say that these 2, the X where they say this will cross is a place called Carbondale, Illinois. Okay, they're saying that's where the X is from these 2. But now I go to another story, and it's called eclipse2024.org, and they've got all the apps so you can track it, the glasses to look at it, and they list the place, Rick, as Rapture, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I think that happened to their basketball team the other night.
Funny. And they actually have a simulation on here that will show you what it's going to look like in Rapture. And it's a you get the totality in this.
Well, the guy that I was listening to as well,
Greg, look at this
for 4 minutes.
Yeah, the very kind listener wanted me to listen to too. He also makes the point
when it pops, when it lights up.
Yeah, he makes the point about total darkness when Christ was on the cross, and that this totality is something God has been using as signs, since the fall.
But if I'm not mistaken, the account about darkness was for 3 hours.
Correct.
And that would be not eclipse. Right. It doesn't match up because the where we were before, we had about 2 minutes of it.
Right.
They say this one, because of the angle that's coming in time of day, you can get about 4 minutes if you're in the totality.
Ooh, double.
Totality.
But it is, here is the other difference that I do know. We were in a low sunspot cycle on the last one. We're in a high sunspot cycle right now. So the fireworks coming off the sun, you could possibly see if you're in the totality will be much greater than it was before.
Bubba, you are intelligent.
If it's not cloudy though, y'all,
if it's cloudy, it's all for naught anyway.
I may be flying to Austin with a 3-year-old for no reason.
Correct.
Right, yeah, that's a
The
good
cloud
forecast.
cover looks terrible.
I'm going to be in Huntsville, Texas all weekend, and everybody has been, not everybody, but I've gotten several emails going, hey, Hounds, you need to keep the team an extra day, and y'all try to see this.
Yeah, you need to.
Are you willing?
I mean,
You need
no,
to.
no
way.
We've missed too much class as it is.
You need to. That's.
Everybody keeps saying it. Everybody, I'm
I
getting
wanna
email
say
after
this.
email.
I
People saying this.
saw Total Eclipse when I was a kid, but we were never in the totality part of it. You know, it was always some, and even if you're in 80-90% of it, it's not the same as that total. The thing that we went to, Adler, and I think it was very, very weird to see that.
It's so cool.
It is very cool, but it is weird when all the street lights start coming on and the dogs start barking and all the birds quit flying and it's right there in the middle of the day. You're like, ooh.
It's a sunset all around you. It's a 360-degree sunset.
Yeah.
It is wild.
Are you going to have to remind Ruby about it the rest of her life so she won't forget it? So you don't feel like you wasted time?
I finally explained it to her. I had like basketballs in my hands, like, here's the sun,
She's never
here's
gonna
the
remember
moon.
that.
No, it's going to be cloudy.
And she actually understands it now, and now it's going to be cloudy. If I just shut up, it just been like, hey, we're having a fun trip to go see friends, you know, it would be fine. Now it's going to be incredibly disappointing, and this is probably what
The good
cloud
news is,
cover's
though,
from.
the Texas barbecue in Austin is fantastic.
Yes, we're going. It's a food trip.
Yeah.
Tex-Mex trip.
Adler, that's funny.
That's the cloud cover?
That's a joking cloud cover, but that's how it feels. My goodness.
So,
Do we dare? Do we dare?
so
go down this road?
there is some oddity to this.
Sure, there is.
And some of it may be exaggerated a little bit, but according to that story, Rapture is going to be in the totality of it. And let me throw this at you, too. We won't have another one in North America till 2033.
You got Greg yawning.
We won't
that's
have
not
another
even-
one coast to coast in the U.S. till 2045. But if I'm not mistaken, the 33 one will come right across our state,
Really?
if I'm not mistaken. Now, that's a long
don't think
time
so.
from now.
It is.
Is it out? Have you seen a map? Because one of them
bring
that
up
was
path.
coming up later, maybe it's the 45.
Ruby
one,
will
I
actually
don't
be able to
know.
remember that one.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, like the totality of it was like Demopolis, Alabama. I mean, it was crazy. I don't remember which one that is coming up.
Yeah, maybe we could
But it's in the future. I mean, that's a long time in the future.
But Bubba, here is an example of the difference between 99% totality and 100%. And it is
a big deal.
It's,
Oh, wow.
It's wild, y'all. It really is. It's gonna. I mean, I'm not gonna be able to
And
see
it
it,
pops,
but, you know,
buddy. When it goes behind there, it lights up everything around it.
fine. I'm gonna miss it. It's fine.
We'll be right back.
Rick and Bubba.
And I understand the intrigue about all this, even from a spiritual standpoint.
It is interesting.
And you and I, in the last 30 years and 3 months, have had to say this over and over again. You know, as people of faith, we still can never, ever, ever ignore that we were told by the very Jesus that is our Lord and who redeemed us that no one knows the day, the hour, only the Father. Now, when Jesus was saying that, he had by his own will removed some of his glory, but now is the glorified Jesus, so he would know as well now in the Trinity. So anybody that tells you when something's going to happen of the return of Christ, they're wrong because they don't know. And now he did say there would be birth pains and there would be signs in the heavens and
Know
all
the
that.
season.
Yeah, and all of that. But I had somebody ask me, the guy who emailed us, and I said, look, I'll listen to this video. I'll watch it. I'm not saying it's not important. It's not interesting, any of that. But honestly, as a follower of Jesus, it really won't change the way I already live my life. Jesus told me that I was to be his disciple, that I was to make disciples, that I needed to know enough about what he said and what the Word of God was that I could teach people to obey all that he commanded, and that I was to do that until he returned or I died. That's how I live. And This doesn't change that in the least.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because when I think about things like eclipses and all of that, I don't know about all of you. The thing that has broken my heart the most of you saying, I wish I had more time, was people who keep dying versus the rapture.
Yep.
Right? I mean, because we're all running out of time as far as when we'll face the Lord. So when he gave all these different, when he was telling all these different analogies, teaching, time after time after time, he is teaching us that the return of the Lord, or our earthly death, will be unexpected, and that we should be doing what he told us to do, and our true concern would be dying and facing the Lord, or the Lord returning, and we're not doing what he told us to do.
Yep.
He told us this over and over and over and over. So it took me longer than I'm embarrassed that it did. I hate the parts of my life that I wasted not following those instructions, but I follow them now. So whatever happens on April 8th and what happens in the next 7 days, I'm just going to keep doing what he told me to do.
You know, emailers have also brought this up. Who in our founding fathers, as we settled this country, thought it was a good idea to name a town Nineveh?
Right.
Right. And how could there be that many of them?
Right, yeah.
I mean, somebody play a joke on somebody?
Right. Well, let's hit this. Let's hit this too. So when you have somebody like this long video, and that was very interesting, and I didn't listen to all of it, so maybe he said that. But how many times have we done this show that we come back on the air, and I'm just going to use this date because it's the one we have now, on April 9th, and we're all still here. The church has not been raptured. Christ has not come back. We're all still alive. Are these people like weathermen? They never admit they had the forecast wrong?
No.
I mean,
We've had, Rick, keep in mind, we've had Y2K. Remember, we were going to have it with that.
Oh, yeah.
We've had various comets come over. You know, we had the purple shoe bunch, kill themselves out in Texas. Hellbop.
right.
And, they're wrong. Like you said, over and over again, their record on this is horrible. So why do we follow their advice?
Right.
Well, and another thing I think we have to be very careful of, and a friend of mine...
Or give them credibility.
Right, and a friend of mine just texted me, and I think he's right. You got to also, and I'm not saying this is what's happening, so don't hear me saying that, okay? But there's also very plausible that the adversary loves this kind of stuff. Because if he can get us more focused on an eclipse versus that lunch you were going to have today and talk to somebody about Jesus, or that what you were going to do, and you go, instead of spending the time talking about redemption, you're now obsessed with this. And if we were honest in our sin nature and our fallen state, Rick included, all of us are trying our best to get a heads up that maybe I can get my act together and right at the last minute if I can figure out what the timeline is. Mm-hmm.
Slide in.
Right, but Jesus said don't do that.
Like get your term paper.
He said I wouldn't let that be my strategy.
No.
And so thief in the night, the twinkling of an eye, it sounds like, and Jesus kept saying, it sounds awfully unexpected. I don't feel that April 8th, it feels unexpected. It feels like everybody's anticipating something because of all these so-called signs. And so I wouldn't put my eggs in the we're all going to be raptured April 8th basket based on Jesus telling us and us experiencing in our own lives how many times we've been told that was going to happen. I'd just be ready to go today.
Yeah.
Did that video that you watched, Rick, mention the CERN, the world's largest, Hadron Collider?
Yeah, the particle accelerator.
Particle accelerator potentially opening up like a portal from hell or something like that.
I missed that one.
They thought it was going to open up a black hole, but they've been saying that since they were talking about building it, and they've built it. They experiment with it. They've had some wonderful experiments and breakthroughs. No black holes.
Are the clouds going to hide that too?
It might, but they are kicking it off on April 8th as well.
Yeah, so, if you want to...
Probably going to rapture.
I see the interest of this and how it can be fascinating. And what
They've been using
and what y'all did was fascinating. That's fine. But don't don't take today and not do what Jesus told us to do, worrying about all the stuff tied to an eclipse on the 8th.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Now, some of us may die our earthly death before Tuesday or whatever day it is, whatever the 9th falls on. But I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all that I feel very confident that if the Lord allows me to continue to live my earthly life till then, and I don't pass away, I'm going to say the world is still going to be operating on April the 9th. I'm going to predict that all the predictions of the rapture on the 8th are incorrect.
I think you might be right.
And I feel really strong about that. Yeah. I feel pretty confident.
The CERN logo does have 666 in it hidden. So that's something to think about, though.
Bubba,
You're 100% right, Rick.
Bubba, now can I safely get down 65 today? Now that's a little more
daunting. 18-wheeler with Rapture written all over it out there.
Bottom of the hour.
Rick and Bubba, Rick and Bubba. Rick and Bubba.